Right, let's jump right in today. We're taking a deep dive into some of the most recent Premier League action.
Oh, yeah, some big matches.
Big matches, definitely. Focusing on Liverpool's win, 4-1 win over Ipswich.
Right.
And Arsenal's pretty decisive victory over Dynamo Zagreb, 3-0 in that one.
Yep.
So we've got a ton of different sources for this one. We've got post-match interviews with players and managers from both sides.
Awesome.
And then also some commentary from analysts, some really seasoned analysts.
Cool.
Yeah. And what we're really going to try to do today is go beyond the scores, right? So not just, okay, Liverpool won, Arsenal won.
Right.
But like, what actually happened in those matches that got them to those results? What were the tactical choices made? Were there any like key moments or player performances?
Yeah, the defining moment.
Defining moments for sure. And then, what does this all tell us about where these teams stand? Where they're headed in the Premier League.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think if you hit the nail on the head, we're going to be looking beyond just, those score lines and really try to delve into those tactical approaches that contributed to these victories.
Right.
And I think what's really interesting is that at first glance, 2 dominant wins, right? But the paths to those wins were quite distinct.
Okay, yeah, let's start with Liverpool, the 4-1 victory. Sounds pretty dominant.
It does.
But what was the overall feeling of the match? Was it like a constant one-sided just, back and forth, or what was the sense of that game?
Well, the scoreline suggests dominance, for sure.
For sure.
And the commentators were really keen to point that out, just how much control Liverpool seemed to have throughout the match.
Right.
And even one commentator said, it was literally then after halftime, they were never really going to have a G. So I've seen a team which has gone 3-0, right? That's a damage limitation.
Yeah.
They just sat back 25 yards from their own goal, and that was it. So it spoiled it. Almost like, a training exercise
oh, really?
As opposed to a real, competitive match at times.
And I think what's interesting, too, is I think Virgil van Dijk even, expressed a little frustration, even in a dominant win like that.
Yeah.
About conceding a goal.
Yeah.
It speaks to their mentality, their will to win.
Yeah. I mean, definitely.
But it wasn't just about, like, brute force, though, right? Like, what tactical decisions were made that led to them having such a control over that game?
Yeah, and I think Ari Slot has opted for a slightly more conservative approach this season.
No, okay.
Compared to previous years, and it seems to be working wonders. I mean, commentators were raving about the impact of Trent Alexander-Arnold's new positioning, playing a little deeper and a bit more centrally.
Okay.
So he's still delivering those, trademark pinpoint passes, but he's also much more solid defensively.
Right. Gotcha. So it's like he's still able to be as effective in the attack, but they're not sacrificing any of that defensive solidarity.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, some commentators are even referring to it as like an inverted fullback role.
Oh, interesting. When you say conservative, though, what does that mean in this context?
Right.
Because conservative could mean a bunch of different things, Is it like, are they sitting back more or what?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I think in this case, conservative doesn't necessarily mean defensive,
Okay.
It's more about control, like calculated aggression.
Right.
They're still pressing high, winning the ball back quickly.
Yeah.
But they're doing it with more discipline and structure.
Gotcha.
So they're, picking their moments to attack and just making sure they're not leaving themselves vulnerable at the back.
Yeah. So it's like, instead of just like constant pressure, it's like, all right, we're gonna pick our moments. We're gonna choose when to do this, so we're not leaving ourselves open.
Gotcha. Yeah, precise.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's really allowing certain players to shine. We can't talk about Liverpool without mentioning Cody Gakpo. Fantastic match, 2 goals and assist.
Right.
Feels like his partnership with Alexander-Arnold is really starting to blossom.
Yeah.
And he even said in the post-match interview, everybody knows his quality.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he took a touch, and I was eager to be on time in the box, and great ball, good finish, and good goal.
Yeah, there's a real synergy developing between those two.
Yeah.
Gakpo is just such a natural finisher, always looking to make those runs in behind the defense, and then Alexander-Arnold with his passing range is the perfect supplier for a player like that.
So, I mean, speaking of that passing, the pinpoint passing on full display for Gakpo's second goal.
Oh, yeah.
But some might argue that Ipswich's defense could have done a little better there.
Right.
Could that have also been part of why that goal was scored?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a valid point.
Yeah.
While the pass itself was world-class, Ipswich's defensive line was a bit too high, and they didn't seem to track Gakpo's run very effectively.
Yeah.
And this is where I think Liverpool's, tactical discipline really comes into play. They're patient in their build-up, waiting for those moments of vulnerability in the opposition's defense, and then strike with precision.
So it's a combination of like individual brilliance, but also that tactical plan that's making them so dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, we cannot forget Mo Salah, 100th Premier League goal at Anfield.
Remarkable.
I mean, that's a historic milestone.
Yeah.
What do you think has been the key to his consistency, especially at Anfield?
It's quite remarkable, isn't it? I mean, Salah's consistency over the years has been nothing short of phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I think the key at Anfield specifically is the atmosphere.
Okay.
The crowd's electric.
Yeah.
And you can see how that really lifts the players, especially someone like Salah, who just thrives on that energy.
Yeah.
It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The crowd believes he'll score. He believes he'll score.
And then he scores.
And more often than not, he delivers.
Wow. Yeah, it's a special connection between a player and their home ground.
For sure.
Okay, let's move over to Arsenal now. 3-0 victory. Sounds pretty comfortable.
Yep.
Against Dinamo Zagreb. Not quite the goal fest that we saw from Liverpool.
Right.
But still impressive. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Arsenal demonstrated a different kind of dominance.
Yeah.
One built on efficiency and control.
Okay.
They didn't need to overwhelm Dinamo Zagreb with goals. They just simply outclassed them in pretty much every facet of the game.
Before we dive into like the specifics of Arsenal's win, you had mentioned earlier different paths to victory.
Right.
Right. Like, is there a type of win that's more advantageous in the long run?
Yeah.
Especially in a league as grueling as the Premier League.
That's a great question, and it's one that analysts and fans are constantly debating.
Yeah.
Is it better to be a free-scoring attacking force like Liverpool,
right,
or a more pragmatic, defensively sound team like maybe this this version of Arsenal?
Right.
There's no easy answer. Both approaches have their pros and cons.
Yeah.
The key, I think, lies in adaptability.
Right.
The best teams can adjust their style depending on the opponent and the situation.
For sure. Okay, well, let's dive into some of those specifics of Arsenal's win. Who stood out to you in this one?
Well, Martin Ødegaard was exceptional.
Yeah.
In midfield. His dribbling was mesmerizing, and he capped off a brilliant performance with a perfectly weighted assist for Kai Havertz's goal.
Oh, wow.
Commentators were really praising him for being more direct in this match.
Yeah.
Taking on defenders, creating chances in the final third.
Gotcha.
Really dictating the tempo for Arsenal.
That's interesting because I've heard in the past, some people saying, oh, he's not direct enough or he cuts inside too much.
Right.
But it seems like he really took the initiative in this match.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it shows, how much tactical awareness he has, how he can adapt his game to exploit different weaknesses.
Right.
He's the creative hub for Arsenal. And when he's on form, they're very difficult to contain.
And it feels like Kai Havertz is finally starting to find his feet at Arsenal.
Yeah, he is.
Scored a goal, linked up well, looked much more confident than in previous matches.
For sure.
How do you think his role is evolving on this team?
Yeah, he's definitely growing into the role, I think, early on.
Yeah.
There were a lot of questions about, where he would fit best in this Arsenal system.
Yeah.
He's a versatile player,
Right.
but I think his best position seems to be when he has that freedom to roam and find space in the attacking third.
Yeah.
And with Ødegaard providing those incisive passes, I think it's a partnership that could really flourish.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we also have to talk about Declan Rice. He's becoming, more and more influential.
Oh, for sure.
In that midfield role. Not just shielding the defense anymore. He's making those like runs into the box,
right?
Adding another dimension to their attack. Do you think he's like developing into a like true box-to-box midfielder?
I think he has all the attributes to become a dominant box-to-box midfielder.
Yeah.
I mean, he's strong, athletic, reads the game well, and he's got a great engine.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he even scored a crucial goal against Manchester United. Right.
A few weeks back. So if he can continue to improve his finishing and add more goals to his game, he'll be a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's awesome to see players like that, like really evolving their game and taking on new responsibilities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this season's Premier League so exciting.
Yeah.
You know, we're seeing established stars reaching new heights, young talents emerging, and tactical innovations shaping the way the game is played.
Right. It definitely feels like we're watching a very interesting evolution in the Premier League right now.
For sure.
Both Liverpool and Arsenal showcasing their strengths in different ways, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they continue to grow as the season goes on.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll dive into some of those specific moments and player performances that really define these matches.
Sounds good.
Okay, so before the break, we were talking about these kind of contrasting styles. Right.
You know, Liverpool and Arsenal.
Yeah.
But let's rewind a bit and zero in on like some of the standout performances, some of those key moments that really shaped these matches.
Yeah, for sure.
Starting with Liverpool, I mean, what really stood out to me was just how easily they sliced through Ipswich's defense, especially in that first half.
It was almost surgical the way they moved the ball.
Yeah.
You know, commentators were using phrases like training ground exercise to describe it. And I can see why, you know, Liverpool's passing was crisp, their movement was so fluid, and they were just constantly finding these pockets of space to exploit.
And I feel like you see that perfectly in Dominik Szoboszlai's opening goal.
Yeah.
I mean, the build-up play was beautiful to watch.
It was.
And then culminating in that pinpoint pass from Ibrahima Konate.
Konate's passing range is often overlooked, you know, but he can be incredibly dangerous when he has time on the ball.
Right.
And Szoboszlai's finish, ice cold. You know, he's been given more freedom to push forward this season.
Oh, really?
And it's clearly paying off.
Yeah.
It's like they've unlocked another level to his game.
That's interesting, you know, how even just a slight tactical tweak can impact a player that much.
Yeah, yeah.
Speaking of impact, though, Mo Salah, another goal,
of course,
adds to his incredible tally.
Yeah.
100 Premier League goals at Anfield.
I mean, that is insane consistency.
It's hard to even fathom at a single ground.
At a single ground.
Yeah.
Truly remarkable.
What do you think makes him so special? I mean, it's not just the number, right?
No, it's not just the number of goals. I think it's the variety.
Okay.
You know, he can score tap-ins, he can score long-range screamers, headers.
Yeah, he's got it all.
He's a complete goal scorer. Right. I mean, one commentator even said, you know, imagine being a manager just knowing all you've got to do is write Mo Salah's name on the team sheet and, you know, virtually guarantee a goal every game. It's incredible.
Wow.
You know, and it's true. He's a manager's dream.
He is. Now, that actually brings up a good point.
Right.
I've heard some critics say that, you know, he's become a little too reliant on penalties this season.
Right.
Does that diminish his overall, you know, goal scoring prowess?
It's a fair point, and it's something that's been debated quite a bit this season.
Okay.
You know, and while it's true that a significant portion of his goals have come from the penalty spot, you can't deny his ability to win those penalties.
Right.
You know, he's still drawing fouls in dangerous areas, and he's converting them with remarkable consistency.
That's true. That's true.
Oh yeah.
Let's go back to the match itself, though. Do you recall any other moments from Salah's performance that really stood out to you?
I mean, his goal in this match was just classic Salah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the way he controlled the bouncing ball, shifted onto his left foot, and then just rifled it into the top corner.
Yeah.
It was pure class.
Pure class, okay.
It looked effortless, but that was a very difficult finish.
Yeah, yeah. It was bouncing awkwardly, and he didn't have much time to react, but it almost looked routine for him.
Exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of world-class players, we have to talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold. That assist for Cody Gakpo's second goal.
Oh, my goodness.
Nothing of beauty.
That pass was just outrageous.
Yeah.
You know, he curved it perfectly over the defense right into Gakpo's path.
Perfect.
Gakpo didn't even have to break stride. nodded it past the goalkeeper.
Wow.
I mean, Gakpo even acknowledged it, after the match. He said, everybody knows his quality.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he took a touch, and, I was eager to be on time in the box, and, great ball, good finish, and, good goal.
It's awesome.
It was a perfect illustration of their growing partnership.
It feels like they've got like a telepathic connection on the pitch.
They really do, yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears over to Arsenal's match against Dinamo Zagreb now. So 3-0, pretty comfortable victory. Not quite the same level of like dominance that we saw from Liverpool.
Right.
What was your overall impression of their performance?
I wouldn't necessarily say it was less dominant.
Okay.
It was a different kind of dominance.
Yeah.
Arsenal were efficient, clinical, and just got the job done.
Gotcha.
Without expending too much energy.
Yeah.
They, picked their moments, exploited weaknesses, and just secured those 3 crucial points.
So there's something to be said about that calculated efficiency.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Who caught your eye in this one?
Martin Odegaard, the standout performer for me.
Really?
Yeah, he was pulling the strings in midfield, dictating the tempo, creating chances, and even capped off his performance with that assist to Kai Havertz.
It's awesome. I mean, we were talking earlier about how he's been more direct.
And it seems like that's really paying off.
Yeah, he's becoming more of a complete midfielder, able to control the game with his passing and vision, but also willing to take on defenders and make things happen in the final third.
Yeah.
He's the creative spark for Arsenal.
Yeah.
And when he's playing at this level, they're a very dangerous team.
And it feels like Kai Havertz is starting to settle in now at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Scored a goal, linked up well, looked much more confident.
Yeah, he's definitely growing in confidence with each match.
Okay.
And he's a versatile player. He can operate in a number of different positions.
Right.
But it seems like he's most effective when he's given the freedom to roam and find space.
Gotcha.
And with Odegaard supplying those clever passes, it's a partnership that has the potential to be really exciting.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
We got to talk about Declan Rice too.
Oh.
I mean, those threatening runs from midfield, he's added a few goals to his game recently.
He has.
I mean, it makes you wonder if he's becoming more of a box-to-box midfielder.
I think he's showing all the signs of a player who can dominate in that role.
Yeah.
He's got the physicality, the stamina, the tactical awareness.
Right.
And now he's starting to add goals to his game.
Yeah.
I mean, the goal he scored against Manchester United a few weeks back was a prime example of his ability to arrive late in the box.
For sure.
And make a difference.
It's awesome to see like young players like that evolving their game, adding new tools to their skill set.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you appreciate the depth of talent that's emerging in the Premier League.
Right. And speaking of talent, both Liverpool and Arsenal.
Right.
Incredible attacking firepower.
For sure.
But it seems like there's a key difference in how it's distributed,
Yeah.
Liverpool seem to have goals coming from everywhere.
Right.
Arsenal seems a little more reliant on a few key players.
Yeah.
Do you think that could become a vulnerability for Arsenal down the line?
That's an astute observation, and you look at Liverpool's squad and they genuinely have goals coming from all over the pitch.
Yeah.
Salah, Gakpo, Solanke, Diogo Jota.
Yeah.
Even their defenders can chip in with a goal or two.
Right, exactly.
Whereas Arsenal, if Salah, Gakpo, or Solanke were to, get injured or go through a rough patch, it could be a massive blow to their attack.
Right, whereas Liverpool, it's like, okay, well, this guy's not scoring today, but
exactly.
this other guy's picking up the slack.
It's a trade-off with both approaches.
Right.
When you have a more concentrated attack like Arsenal, your key players are more likely to be the focus
of course
of the opposition's defensive strategy, making it more challenging for them to consistently perform at their best.
Right, they can just completely shut them down.
Exactly.
Okay.
But it also allows those key players to develop a really strong understanding and synergy.
Okay.
Which can be incredibly effective.
So it's interesting how those different approaches can still lead to success.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before we move on to like the bigger picture and what these wins mean, for both teams in the title race.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about the evolution of tactics in the Premier League.
Right.
I feel like we are seeing a shift to more dynamic, fluid systems.
Oh, yeah.
With players kind of taking on multiple roles and responsibilities.
I think you're right. We're seeing, less rigid formations.
Okay.
And more emphasis on positional fluidity and interchangeability.
Gotcha.
Players are being asked to be more versatile, comfortable operating in different areas of the pitch, and capable of contributing both defensively and offensively. And I feel like that's very evident in both Liverpool and Arsenal.
It is.
We're seeing defenders stepping into midfield, midfielders making late runs into the box, attackers dropping deep to link up play.
Right.
It's just a much more dynamic and unpredictable game than we've seen in the past.
And it's a testament to the tactical evolution of the game.
Yeah.
Managers are constantly innovating, looking for new ways to exploit weaknesses and gain an edge. I mean, it's fascinating to witness.
Yeah.
And it's what makes the Premier League such a captivating league to follow.
Yeah. For sure. And we've covered a lot of ground already.
I have.
From individual brilliance to tactical nuances.
Yeah.
But there's still so much more to unpack.
There is.
When we come back, we'll connect these matches to the larger Premier League narrative and really explore what they tell us about this title race.
Okay, so we've spent some time now unpacking, those tactical approaches, the individual brilliance that led to those Liverpool and Arsenal victories.
Right.
But let's zoom out a bit now,
Yeah.
and connect these matches to the larger Premier League narrative, right? What do they tell us about this title race? What can we expect moving forward?
Well, I think these victories really solidify both teams as major contenders for the title.
Okay.
Liverpool, with their 6th consecutive win, are firmly in command at the top of the table.
Right.
And Arsenal, despite a few early stumbles, are showing that they have the quality and the consistency to stay in the hunt.
Yeah. The analysts have been, comparing these two teams all season long, especially when we talk about attacking firepower.
Right.
But after looking at these matches, are there any, significant differences in how they approach the game?
That might give one team an edge over the other.
I think one key difference that keeps coming up in the commentary is the depth of Liverpool's attack compared to Arsenal's.
Okay.
As we discussed earlier, Liverpool seemed to have goals coming from all over the pitch.
Right.
Whereas Arsenal are a bit more reliant on a few key players.
Yeah.
So, if those players were to get injured or hit a rough patch, it could pose a real challenge for Arsenal.
Yeah, they don't have quite as much insurance.
Exactly.
But one thing they do share, both teams, is that clear tactical identity.
Yeah.
Liverpool with that controlled aggression, Arsenal with their, very possession-based attacking style.
Right.
When these two teams face off, which they inevitably will,
Yeah.
Do you think those styles are going to clash?
Well, I think the upcoming clash between Liverpool and Arsenal is already being billed as a potential title decider.
Wow.
And for good reason. I mean, it's going to be a fascinating tactical battle. Ari Slot has instilled a real sense of discipline and control in this Liverpool team.
Yeah.
And Mikel Arteta has transformed Arsenal into this fluid attacking force.
Yeah.
So, something has to give.
It's almost like a classic clash of styles.
Yeah, you did.
Attack versus defense, control versus flair.
Right.
What do you like? What aspects of that matchup are you most excited to see play out?
Well, I think from a tactical perspective, I'm really interested to see how Arsenal's midfield, led by, the dynamic duo of Ødegaard and Rice, handles Liverpool's relentless pressing.
Okay.
If they can break through that press and establish control in midfield, they'll have a good chance of creating opportunities.
Yeah. On the flip side of that, though, I'm very curious to see how Liverpool's, front three with all their pace and movement, can they exploit any gaps in Arsenal's defense?
Right.
Can their back line withstand that kind of pressure?
Well, it's going to be a real test for them. Liverpool's attack is so multifaceted. They can hurt you in so many different ways. Yeah. But Arsenal's defense has been pretty solid this season. So it'll be an intriguing battle for sure.
So beyond the the tactical battle.
Yeah.
Are there any like individual matchups
Oh, yeah.
that you're really looking forward to?
Well, I think the obvious one is Virgil van Dijk versus whoever leads Arsenal's attack.
Okay.
You know, Van Dijk is arguably the best defender in the world,
Right.
but Arsenal have some real attacking threats. So it'll be a fascinating duel to watch.
For sure. And on the other end, I can't wait to see, Trent Alexander-Arnold with all his playmaking ability from that inverted fullback role.
Right.
How he matches up against Arsenal's wingers.
Yeah, I mean, he's become such a crucial part of Liverpool's attack.
He really has.
And it's not just his attacking contributions.
Yeah.
You know, his defensive awareness has improved significantly this season, which will be key against a team like Arsenal that likes to attack down the flanks.
Right.
You know.
It feels like every position on the pitch is going to have some key battle.
Oh, absolutely.
That could swing the outcome of this match.
It really does.
This has all the makings of a classic.
It does.
But aside from the obvious key players we've already discussed,
right?
Are there any potential wild cards on either side that you think could have a big impact?
Yeah, I mean, for Liverpool, keep an eye on Luis Diaz.
Okay.
You know, he's been battling injuries,
right?
But when he's fit,
yeah,
he's an electric, unpredictable attacker who can really cause havoc.
Right.
And for Arsenal, Bukayo Saka, with his pace and directness, will be a real handful for Liverpool's backline.
I hadn't even considered those two. Those are both really, really good shouts.
Yeah.
I mean, this match has everything: tactical intrigue, individual brilliance, high stakes, even a few potential wild cards in there.
Yeah.
Who do you think has this edge going in?
It's tough to call.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose, I'd probably lean slightly towards Liverpool.
Okay.
You know, I think their depth, their experience, and their defensive solidity might just give them the edge.
Right.
But as always, football is unpredictable.
Yeah.
Anything can happen on the day.
That's why we love it.
Exactly.
Well, we've gone deep today. Yeah. Analyzed tactics, dissected performances, even speculated about the future.
Yeah.
What are your final thoughts on this clash of titans?
I think these matches have shown us that we're witnessing two exceptional teams at the peak of their powers.
For sure.
I mean, the tactical battle between Slot and Arteta will be fascinating.
Right.
The individual matchups will be thrilling to watch.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think this clash is about more than just tactics and individual brilliance. It's about two teams with a hunger for victory, a desire to prove themselves, and a dream of lifting that Premier League trophy.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes this sport so compelling.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
That is what makes the Premier League so captivating. You see tactical masterclasses, you see individual brilliance, and this relentless pursuit of victory.
Yeah.
And it's not just about what happens on the pitch.
Right.
It's the stories, the rivalries, the debates that unfold before, during, and after every match.
Yeah.
It's a sport that sparks passion, ignites conversations, and that's something to celebrate.
Absolutely.
So until our next deep dive, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those football conversations going.
I will.
Yeah.